Soda.com and ask for the AM 950 special.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hello, broadcasting live on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, in the evenings on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, and in the nighttime hours in Seattle at 1150 AM KKNW. This is the Matt McNeil Show, and I'm obviously not Matt McNeil. I'm Mike McIntee in for Matt McNeil today. Matt is, I think Matt has got some family things he's doing today and probably is back tomorrow. I'll have to inquire on that. But I'm glad to be in here today. It's been a while. It's been a minute. It's here a couple of weeks ago, and before that was a couple of years ago. So really glad to be back chatting with you today. We've got an interesting lineup of guests to talk to today. We're going to be talking about elections. We're going to be talking about unions, all the kind of good things that we do like to talk about. And I'll talk about the weather just for a second, because this morning was the coolest day we have had since before Memorial Day. So to me, it felt like fall, which felt like it was time to go back to school. So hence I'm here. I'm back in school today. Glad to have you here. It's also time to go to the State Fair. We'll talk about that too. So, and always, if you've got things you want to talk about, call-in number is 952-946-6205. So, let me know if you have something you want to chat about. I want to talk about Target just for a moment. Well, actually, for more than a moment. Target, as you've heard, has a new CEO because the company has been doing very well as late. And one of the reasons is a boycott by groups upset that Target rolled back its commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. I am clear. I want to say all those words, not just DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, because my question is, when somebody says they're against DEI, which one of those words gets you upset? Diversity, equity, or inclusion? So here to talk to me about this is one of the three co-founders of the National Target Boycott, Nakimi Levy-Armstrong. Nakima, so glad to have you on the program today.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you. So for those who have not been paying attention, and I think there's probably not, but let's start there. What led to this boycott? Walk me into how this whole thing got started.
So as you know, Donald Trump took office for his second term on January 20th. And I believe on January 24th, Target issued a statement saying that it was rolling back its focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. And this was happening with the president furiously signing executive orders in the backdrop, and the fact that he had made it a part of his campaign promises to go for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so we felt that Target, being a hometown company, being a company that had been known for diversity, equity, and inclusion, making the decision to capitulate to Donald Trump could simply not stand. In the aftermath of George Floyd being killed by the Minneapolis Police Department in May of 2020, Target actually made a pledge. Now, this was at a time when we all thought there would be a racial reckoning. And so Target was able to emerge as a national leader by pledging $2.1 billion towards adding more Black brands to the shelves, improving the Black customer shopping experience, increasing its supplier diversity network, as well as improving its diversity and promotion, its hiring and promotion practices with regard to diversity and Black employees. So they made a lot of hefty promises that really brought a lot of us into its stores, and we felt that Target was a place of belonging for all of us. So imagine getting this statement that Target puts out on January 24th, saying it was going to roll back these commitments. Now, folks are already afraid, for the most part, about what's going to happen under a second Trump term. And Target helped to bring those fears to the forefront for a lot of folks to see one of our beloved hometown companies making a decision to align itself with the Trump administration.
Now,
So we called for a national boycott.
All those things that Target pledged to do sound not just good from diversity, equity, and inclusion standpoint, but also good business, because you are bringing in a larger group of people to shop. You're getting a more sustainable base of people who are going to be shopping at Target, and you're having a larger pool of people to pull from to staff. And as we know, ever since COVID, it's been very hard to staff stores. So how has that changed? I mean, what has changed at Target? What are they doing different? When they say they're rolling back, what are they doing different, and how is that impacting things?
So from my understanding, Target has rolled back some of the internal initiatives that made it a champion for diversity, equity, and inclusion. As a matter of fact, shortly after they issued their statement at the end of January, we had our local Pride organization put out a statement basically saying that they would not accept funds from Target this year. And so the community made up the difference for those funds when they put out a GoFundMe. And so a lot of folks, right, not just Black folks, a lot of folks who benefit from diversity, equity, and inclusion felt betrayed by Target's decision. And we've heard that there are folks internally who have lost their jobs, and Target has failed to address the reason that it had decided to roll back, focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And not only that, Target actually donated $1 million to the Trump-Vance inauguration committee. This was the first such political donation of its kind from Target on behalf of any administration. So they went all in and backing or aligning, itself as a company with the Trump administration. And we're just honestly really perplexed by the decision making behind this. We know that Brian Cornell recently announced that he was going to step aside as the CEO of Target beginning in February of 2026. But we know that he didn't make these decisions alone that have led to many declines at Target, which we can get into. He has a board of directors that he answers to, and he has shareholders that he answers to as well. So there are other folks involved in this decision making that really call into question Target's leadership, whether they ever truly believed in the values that they espouse, and what they're going to do to make this right.
So this began about in February. What's been the impact and the fallout since then?
Yeah, so the boycott officially began on February 1st to coincide with the start of Black History Month. And literally since that week, Target has faced declining foot traffic every week. They have faced declining revenues. They've had at least a 12.4 loss in their valuation. And Brian Cornell has actually lost millions of dollars in his CEO pay, his bonus funds that he typically gets since all of these declines started happening. And when we launched the boycott, Target stock was trading at about $142 a stock. And last week it was at about $98 a stock. So Target has suffered significant losses since the start of this boycott. And I think it's really a wake-up call to the company on some level. I don't think that they took us seriously initially when we announced the boycott. They thought that, with all the new shiny partnerships they've added to bring white folks back into the store, like a partnership with Kate Spade, a partnership with Parker Warbley, that would help to shift the trajectory. But so far, people have been standing firm. And I have to give credit where credit is due, not only to the other two co-founders of the boycott, Monique Cullors Doty, who is one of the co-founders of this boycott, as well as Black Lives Matter Minnesota, and Jaylani Hussein, who's the executive director of CARE Minnesota, who's also one of the three co-founders and co-leaders of this boycott. But the progressive folks, Black folks, allies in Minnesota have really helped to catapult this boycott into the national spotlight by standing firm, not going into the stores, letting their neighbors know why they're not shopping at Target, commenting online, And if it weren't for people speaking up, I posted about, Target's statement the morning after they made this announcement. And I asked people in my network on Facebook, I said, what should we do about this? What's our individual and collective responsibility? And folks chimed in saying, I'm going to cut up my red card. I'm not shopping at there's a Black woman named Leslie Taylor from our community who said we should do a economic blackout beginning on February 1st. So all of those suggestions made a huge difference to us. And we said, we're going to make something happen and send a message to Target that we will not tolerate them capitulating to Donald Trump after initially positioning their company as an oasis, right, for racial justice.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, they have shown us who they are. I'm hoping they can repair the harm. But there are many folks who are saying here and nationwide that they're never going back to Target after this stunt that they pulled.
I want to talk about where Target goes, but just a little bit more on this, and then we do have to take a break. Where are there other companies that you that should have been focused on, or is Target just such a blatant example? That's why you chose Target as opposed to anybody else who was kind of doing the rollback.
Well, Target is, as you know, a hometown company. Their global headquarters is based in downtown Minneapolis. One of Target's main stores sits right across the street from the 3rd Precinct Police Station, which is the police station that Derek Chauvin and the other 3 officers who helped murder George Floyd operated out of on a regular basis. So Target understood our pain, at least we thought they did, as a community in regards to the uprising that happened, the trauma, people taking to the streets. They witnessed all of this. And that is what led them, or so we thought, to make this bold pledge in 2021 of that $2.1 billion and all of the initiatives that they would support, which again made them a national and a global leader on these issues and brought a lot of us into their stores, feeling that it was a safe place. So those were the reasons that we specifically honed in on Target Corporation. As far as the other companies like Walmart and others that have rolled back diversity, equity, and inclusion, they're not located in Minnesota,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so when we first launched the boycott, we had people saying, well, why don't we add this company and that company? And I said, no. Well, number one, we had these very specific reasons.
Nakima, I'm going to stop you right there
Target.
just for a moment because we do need to take a hard break here. So we're going to come back. We're going to pick up the conversation. We're going to also talk about what's changing at Target. We'll be back in just a bit.
Here I hide in the heart of the city like a stranger coming out. End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. Even though Auto Technical is a small nonprofit, we have helped more families with transportation than any organization in Minnesota. Since '94, we have reconditioned donated vehicles so they have a higher tax benefit. Call Richard at 612-919-5526, 612-919-5526, or autotech.org.
Crooners is a classic supper club with a wide range of entertainment. Make your reservations for a parade of international, national, and local artists in the main stage showroom, the intimate Dunsmore Jazz Room, or outdoors at the seasonal Belvedere Under the Stars space. Or enjoy Maggie's Piano Lounge. Enjoy 4-star food and drinks with first-class supper club service. What are you waiting for? Go to croonersmn.com for more information and schedule. That's croonersmn.com.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our local leaders. How do you reward your employees? How do you appreciate your business partners? Thousands of local organizations just like yours count on Minuteman Uptown for promotional products. We craft custom awards and plaques. We print your logo on apparel, office supplies, and thousands of other items. Minuteman Uptown helps you reward employees and stay top of mind with customers and vendors. We print everything. Contact us today at mpuptown.com.
Overwhelmed trying to make sense of Medicare? As a licensed advisor, I can help you determine your healthcare needs and evaluate your options. I'm Harvey Pearl of Pearl & Company, and I want you to have the peace of mind knowing you have the best coverage available. You deserve an advocate you can trust and coverage you can rely on. And there's no fee, ever. Annual enrollment is October 15th through December 7th. Find me at pearlsofwisdom.com. That's PERLES of wisdom.com. So we can strategize together.
This year, the adventure is calling louder than ever before. Craft your own magic at the Wicked Wand Workshop. Race for glory at the Ninja Warrior Challenge. Or battle for honor at the Viking Invasion. Plus, enjoy classic favorites like live armored combat jousting or slay your hunger with tasty turkey legs. The Minnesota Renaissance Festival is back with new adventures. Get your tickets now at renaissancefest.com. Huzzah!
It's Mike McIntee in for Matt McNeil here today on the Matt McNeil Show. Matt should be back tomorrow, I believe. I have been talking here with one of the co-founders, one of the three co-founders of the National Target Boycott, Nekima Levy-Armstrong. And Nekima, when we hit the break, you were just explaining to me why you focused on Target and nobody else. Why don't you pick it up from there?
Yes, thank you, Mike. So there was a lot of pressure from folks to add in this company or that company. But one thing I know about our society is that we experience fatigue. And I figured that given that this would have been many people's first time participating in an economic boycott, that they would have grown tired having a laundry list of companies that they could no longer support because of them rolling back diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we were very intentional in staying focused and staying self-disciplined, and also in knowing that we would be able to track the progress of the results of the boycott if we focus specifically on one company. We could see week after week, just as now we've been able to track the impacts of the nationwide boycott against Target Corporation. So it was definitely the right call. And it spurred a lot of other economic boycotts, such as the Tesla takedown, the Latino freeze, the 40-day Target fast, as well as the rolling economic blackouts by the People's Union USA. But the Target boycott has been the most consistent, and it's where you can see the longest standing results of any of the other boycotts because of us starting on February 1st and the boycott being indefinite until Target decides to meet our two demands.
Now, I mentioned that Brian Cornell, the CEO of Target, is leaving. He hasn't left yet, but it was announced last week that his successor will be Michael Fidelki. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I believe last week I don't know if you tried to start a conversation with Target or you called for Fidelki to make some changes. Fill me in on that. Has anything changed? Is anything going to change?
Well, honestly, we're waiting to see what the new CEO of Target is going to do. Now, he doesn't officially take the helm until February of 2026. But in the meantime, there's work that he can do. I mean, he's a 20-year insider at Target. He is well aware of what's happening with this boycott, as well as the impact to the company from an economic and reputational perspective. And so he has an opportunity to reach out if he would like to meet with us. But the folks at Target in their leadership, they also know that in order for us to take seriously the opportunity to meet with them, they need to be willing to make a decision to reverse course on rolling back diversity, equity, and inclusion. That is the starting point for any conversation with Target's new leadership, as well as them accounting for that $2.1 billion and the initiatives connected to it that they pledged in the aftermath of George Floyd being killed. We don't want to waste our time with a superficial meeting or a photo op. We want real results for the people of this community and the people around the nation who are participating in this economic boycott against Target Corp.
What would real results look like? Would it be going back to the original promises they made, or is there a lesser level, or where do you draw the line? Where do you, I mean, I'm not asking you to negotiate on the air, but I'm just asking you generally, where do you see that something has to be before you'll say, yeah, we're making progress?
Well, I think, again, the meeting the first demand, which is that they acknowledge that they made a mistake in rolling back their commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that they announce how they are going to make that right. They also need to account for the $2.1 billion that they pledged and provide some metrics, of whether they did increase Black brands on the shelves. Did they improve their hiring and promotion practices amongst Black employees? How did they measure whether the Black the Black shopping experience was improved? And did they increase their supplier diversity network, right? And how did they spend those resources? They also had pledged resources, tens of millions, towards increasing their services for media outlets, right? So they were basically going to do business with media outlets of color to the tune of at least $25 million. So we need to see the evidence of what has happened since they made that pledge. We need to see the evidence that they're apologetic for capitulating to the Trump administration and rolling back diversity, equity, and inclusion. And there is one additional thing that we have put on the table, and that is Target's role, its unfortunate role in perpetuating criminal justice outcomes for young Black men in Hennepin County. It has come to light that Target was actually helping to fund the Hennepin County Attorney's Office under Mike Freeman and Amy Klobuchar. And they didn't just give money, to support that office, but they said they wanted convictions. And as a matter of fact, one of Target's employees participated in the wrongful conviction of a young man by the name of Mahdi Ali, who was just a high school student at Minneapolis Public Schools, when he was railroaded and charged with a murder he did not commit. And one of Target's employees actually showed up and testified at the trial. And now, as we are reviewing the evidence and information, there's no way that Mahdi Ali could have committed that murder, that he has spent time behind bars for almost 20 years.
Wow.
For a crime that he did not commit. And so he's just one of many individuals. We brought out the name of Marvin Haynes, who was also a young Black teenager who was prosecuted under the Amy Klobuchar, Mike Freeman regime for a murder he did not commit. And his family, his sister actually testified at spoke at the press conference that we held on Friday, saying that when they looked through the files, they were able to connect Target's focus in helping to fund the Hennepin County Attorney's Office on Marvin Haynes being wrongful. Now, he has been exonerated, and I believe even paid a settlement for spending years behind bars for a murder that he didn't commit. And again, he's not the only one. There are still young Black men, or who were young at the time, who are inside of the prison system here in Minnesota as a result of the corruption of the Minneapolis Police Department, the reliance on MPD by the Hennepin County Attorney's Office under Mike Freeman and Amy Klobuchar, and Target's role in helping to fund that office. So we want Target to investigate its involvement in the Hennepin County Prosecutor's Office, the funding, where that funding went, which cases have led to wrongful convictions of young Black men, and for them to use their power and their leverage to advocate for the release of those who have been wrongfully incarcerated as a result of their involvement
Nikema,
with the Hennepin County Attorney's Office.
We are out of time, but I did not realize it went that far back. That's incredibly fascinating. I thank you so much for joining us today to talk about this topic, and we're going to take a break here. You're listening to AM 950. I'm Mike McIntee for Matt McNeil.
You catch my drift, 'cause what I really want to know is can you catch these fists?
Hi, Matt McNeil here. You're listening to the best progressive radio in Minnesota. It's AM 950, KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Hi, I'm Scott Shambot from Shambot Family Dentistry. We're the fear-free, shame-free dental office. We know dental anxiety and dental phobia are real. We'll take the time to get to know you and give you what you need to be comfortable at all times. We offer free nitrous oxide laughing gas and have high-tech options to help you feel calm and relaxed during your appointments. We'll help you get through every appointment in the most pain-free way possible. If you're having a dental emergency, we'll try and get you in the same day you call because we don't like to see anyone in pain. As my daughter Rachel says,
if you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been going to Shambot Family Dentistry for years. They get me in last minute when I'm in pain and make regular checkups easy and comfortable.
Shambot Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblotfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
Hi, Penny here from Nightingale in Minneapolis. Exciting news! During the warmer months, we're extending our charm to the patio. Imagine savoring your favorite dishes outside, surrounded by the lively energy of South Minneapolis near 26th and Lindale. And guess what? Nightingale's patio is not just a dining space, it's also dog food. Craft cocktails, curated wines, and half-price bottles of are still part of the deal. Open daily 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. with a full menu until midnight. Join us at Nightingale where good times and great flavors come together.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. Did you know that August is Pet Appreciation Month? Zero Res doesn't use harsh soaps or chemicals, so it's safe for all your furry friends. If you have a pet like I do, you know they'd like to leave little bits of themselves around the house, whether that's fur or dander or worse, and you need to call my cleaning heroes at Zero Res to help get your house back in shape. Carpets, tile, rugs, upholstery, hardwood, every surface in your home can be Zero Resified. So if it's been months since your last deep clean, it's time to give the pros at Zero Res a call. And if you need to freshen up your home for the fall, Zero Res is dropping a Labor Day sale just in time for the start of the school year. Get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $119, plus a free hallway and $75 off an air duct cleaning. Sale ends Labor Day. Call 952-ZERO-RES or go to ZeroResMinnesota.com and ask for the AM 950 special. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res. With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Today, sunshine with a high of 70, then tonight clear with a low of 51.
State Fair savings are here at Chanhassen Dinner Theaters. Save $25 on tickets to select performances of Grease, White Christmas, and Guys and Dolls. Tickets and details at chanhassendt.com/fair25.
AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
It's Mike McIntee in for Matt McNeil here on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. And in the evenings, we're on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. And in the nighttime hours in Seattle at 1150 AM KKNW. Welcome to you all. I am sitting in for Matt today. And, you know, you in the midst of all of the stuff we hear every day from Donald Trump, because one day you'll hear something and the next day you'll hear another thing. It's all outrageous. It's all hard to remember. But sometime, I think it was this weekend or last week, I've lost track now, Donald Trump said he wanted to get rid of mail-in voting. Now, that's not something he's supposed to be able to dictate, but we didn't think he could legally send troops to Los Angeles. And it may have not been legal, but he did it. So joining me now to talk about mail-in voting and other things election related is the executive director of Clean Elections, Mary Hartnett. Mary, welcome to the program. I'm not hearing Mary in my headphones here. So let's see if we can fix that. Do I need to have her up in here? I'm sorry. Patrick, if you can help me there. We're we're talking with Mary. She may be talking on the air, and I may just not be hearing her. So,
unfortunately, I can't hear her, and on my end, I can't see why we are not able to hear her. She's not on mute. So, what we might have you do, Mary, is exit your stream room and come back in. Sometimes that fixes it.
Okay. It's technology. This is hard stuff, radio. You know, you think it's real easy. You think it's just turn on a microphone, but it's gotten very complicated these days. You've got video streaming. You've got, backups. You've got, it used to be actually back when I was a kid, we just had 2 tin cans and a string, and we just played radio. But then we found out that nobody could listen to it. So we actually had to go get an AM transmitter. And we're glad that AM 950 is around for that. So, but let me recap just a little bit about what we know about what Donald Trump has said here. He says that mail-in voting makes elections less safe, and that I think this is after he was talking to election expert Mr. Putin, and Mr. Putin told him that the one way to make elections work better, and I guess I should put air quotes around that, is to make sure that you don't have any mail-in ballots, because those are always bad. And of course, Mr. Putin would be the person to know about how you're supposed to run an election, because they always work so well in the Soviet Union. I don't think he's lost a single one since they've started. So we're still trying to get Mary back. Now, just since I've dealt with elections a lot, let me fill in a few of the blanks here. In Minnesota, we have one of the best election systems in the country. And in Minnesota, we all the ballots are on paper. And so, even the mail-in ballots are on paper. So there's a paper trail. And it looks like we got Mary back. Mary, are you with us now? I'm still not hearing. So
yeah, I heard something momentarily, but we're just going to bring her in on the phone line.
Okay, we'll get her. We're going to do this. It's called a POTS. It's called Plain Old Telephone System or something like that. And so we're dialing to get her over on the phone line. And I'm sorry that we've had to kind of do a little tap dance here for you. But that is the excitement of live radio. You get to see everything as it goes north and south. So I'm waiting for Patrick here to give me the high sign, and then we'll know that we've got Mary on the line. So, Mary, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, good.
Thank you
Good.
very much.
Great.
Okay, so I've set us up here. Donald Trump says, let's get rid of mail-in voting. You wrote a piece in the Star Tribune saying, that's a really dumb idea. Tell us why that is a really dumb idea. And I'm paraphrasing, of course. So,
well, first, I'm getting double feedback here, so I think I'm just going to exit the
stream
room.
Yeah, exit the stream thing and just talk to me on the phone. That's all you need to do right now. So,
all right, I'm going to exit the room here and. Okay.
There we go. Okay, so
okay,
now you're just on the phone.
Good.
So
okay, yeah. Well, it's a bad idea because it's a system that works, and we had in Minnesota alone, we had 1.3 million people vote by mail this last election. And we had within that members of the military, people with disabilities, and people that have schedules that are very difficult to accommodate. And so all three of those groups deserve to be able to vote. And the U.S. military, who's out fighting overseas for our right to vote, to disenfranchise them and not to allow them to be able to vote it's un-American. I mean, mail-in voting now is as American as apple pie, or symbolic of that. We've had mail-in voting since the Civil War. The military has been able to vote since the Civil War. So it's absurd to be able to get rid of this system that we've had in place for well over 100 years, and it's been modernized, and the checks and balances are all in place that make sure that only eligible voters are voting with the mail-in voting. They have tamper-proof envelopes. They have every system in place to make sure that they're secure. And it's a bipartisan system. Republicans, Democrats, independents all use this system and rely on it. And to propose to get rid of it would disenfranchise millions and millions of people.
Now, the argument is often made that we have massive voter fraud, and I should be putting air quotes around that. And correct me if I'm wrong, we have never really had any evidence of massive voter fraud. And if there's been even minor voter fraud, it's been picked up pretty quickly by our wonderful Secretary of State's office, hasn't it?
Right. Right. There was a study that was conducted by the University of St. Thomas, and they looked at voter rolls from 2003 to 2024. And they found 3 instances of convictions of voter fraud of non-citizens voting. And that's out of millions and millions of votes during all of the election seasons. And so it's a minuscule amount. And 3 is even too many. But each time they were found and they were prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And people that are non-citizens, they can be deported if they vote. They have absolutely no incentive to be able to do it. And actually, there's another statistic that I think is telling. I went to the Heritage Foundation site, the authors of Project 2025, and they have a database of non-citizens voting. And I looked from 2023 to 2025 to 2024, the same time period. And out of all of the federal elections, which was over, from that time period, it's over 1 billion votes, like 1.3 billion votes, something like that. There were 70 instances of voter fraud, and they were all prosecuted. So the incidence is so infinitesimal to change an entire system for this very, very rare instances and disenfranchising such a large part of the electorate is just flat out wrong.
Well, let's talk just a little bit about disenfranchising, because Donald Trump says, hey, just go to the polls, vote like everybody else does. Who ends up relying on mail-in voting that's going to be disenfranchised if we just said, well, we're going to cut that off. We're not doing that anymore?
Well, the military for sure, people that are serving overseas, people that are in nonprofits that are working overseas, family members of people that are working overseas, people within the State Department, then people with disabilities, and people whose schedules really make it difficult for them to show up to vote on election day. So those are the groups that are there. Within the military, I believe overseas voting last election was just about 3 million people. So it's large parts of the electorate. I believe that 38% of the population nationally voted with mail-in voting. And
I was going to say, let me add one more person to that list. That's my mom. My mom is in her 90s. We just moved her into a new place here in Maple Grove. It's a lot of effort to get out and go vote. And the first thing she did after she moved in, after she got the stuff in the door, is she changed her registration so she was going to be able to get a mail-in ballot to vote in the next election. She cares about it that much. And the whole thought of her trying to, find her way to the polls, I would go pick her up. I would go take her there. Is just, and anybody else like her, anybody else in that apartment complex having to do that. That just seems cruel, is what it seems like to me.
No, it really is taking people's right to vote away. It's taking people's right to vote away, and it affects rural voters too. Sometimes transportation is difficult for people in rural areas to get to the polls. So voting by mail is something that they rely on too. But thanks for pointing that out, Mike. Big overlook on my part of seniors really rely on it too.
Yeah. So, this seems to benefit nobody. Why is it's a game always to ask, why is Donald Trump doing what he's doing? Because even people who work with him don't know sometimes. But when you sit there, is there any logic to this that might explain it?
Well, he says that, a lot of times it's the last person he spoke to, and he made that announcement right after the meeting with Putin to discuss the war in Ukraine. And Putin had recommended or suggested that mail-in voting was not secure and he should get rid of it. And so the first thing that President Trump did was to say we need to get rid of voting machines, and we need to get rid of mail-in voting. Prior to that, in the 2024 election, he was encouraging voters to use mail-in voting. He was promoting it. The Republican Party promoted it, as did the Democratic Party, because it is a safe and secure way of voting. So he said that a preponderance of Democrats use, and it benefits the Democrats to mail-in voting benefits them, but it's untrue. It benefits, it benefits the Republicans. It benefits everybody across party lines. Being able to vote is essential.
I mean,
I've seems to have flipped his switch because of Putin, who has an autocracy, and they have a one party rule. And if you look at democracy measures across, there's about 5 different indices for democracy, and they're flat out in an authoritarian regime. Russia is. We now have switched from 2016 to the present day to a flawed democracy because of our polarization, but we still rate high and stand up about just about any other country with our clean, fair voting systems and our pluralism, our ability of multiple parties to run against each other and have a fair shot at getting elected up until this time.
Let's talk a little bit about voting machines, because it's not just mail-in voting, it's voting machines he's railing against. And I know that I hear from conspiracy theorists, as well as, people who maybe aren't conspiracy theorists, that voting machines in some places are not exactly all the things that they should be. Of course, we had Fox News just settle a big, pay a lot of money to Dominion because they had claimed that there was fraud in, voting machines. Is there any reason that we should be concerned in Minnesota or any other state about, voting machines and about how they could be tampered?
No, there isn't, and they're checked. I mean, there's a system where any person can look at every single machine is tested before elections and after elections. The members of the public can participate and view this. The election. I mean, the machines are not connected to the internet, and so they can't be tampered with. Every vote, there's a paper ballot that votes that basically they're scanning the votes, and it's a higher degree of accuracy. It would slow down the process and make it up to months to be able to vote. So it's a much more accurate and secure system of voting than hand counting.
Yeah,
and they do hand count to just test the system, and compare, and it always lines up. And and they reconcile them and make sure that they're all counted accurately. So.
We're speaking with Executive Director of Clean Elections, Mary Hartnett. We're going to take a break here, and when we come back, we'll pick up the conversation. Mary, just hang on. You're listening to AM 950, progressive voice of Minnesota.
I grew up in the backwoods, yeah. My whole life been a struggle, baby.
Greg Bakken here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh, every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
The Brave New Workshop is a Minneapolis tradition and the nation's longest-running comedy theater, finding ways to make people laugh about things that should make them cry for over 65 years. And who doesn't need a good laugh right now? Seriously, who doesn't need a laugh? Come see their fall show, Hippocalypse Now, a hilarious look at a world where what people say and what people do are completely unrelated. Playing now through November 1st at the Dudley Riggs Theater in Minneapolis. Tickets available at hennepinarts.org. That's hennepinarts.org.
Hey, it's Tom. There's a war being waged on clean energy. A bill in Congress could eliminate the 30% federal tax credit for solar by the end of 2025. And once it's gone, it may never come back. Fossil fuel giants and their MAGA friends in Washington want to kill green energy. But you can fight back. Going solar with all energy solar isn't just smart, it's a form of resistance. You choose where your money goes, not to utility companies, not to fossil fuel billionaires, but toward clean, renewable power for your home. A system from All Energy Solar works in Minnesota year-round because it runs on sunlight, not heat. So even in the dead of winter, you're generating electricity. And All Energy Solar helps you save with every rebate and incentive available. This is the moment to act. Waiting means risking with this tax credit and giving the upper hand to MAGA Republicans. So get your free consultation today at allenergysolar.com and take back your power.
Hi, this is Laura with Food Freedom Radio, and I invite you to discover 2 local grocery stores with a global fare. Market Fresh, south of Rosedale, carries fresh vegetables, quality meats, seafood, and a wide variety of grocery staples, all in a welcoming store. Shanghai Wholesale Market is in the St. Paul Midway area, and it's a food warehouse open to the public. Shanghai Wholesale carries more than 500 types of noodles. And frankly, it's time for Minnesotans to learn that pasta is a little bit more than spaghetti noodles and tuna casserole. There's sweet potato, bean, rice, fresh, frozen, rye. It's a paradise for those seeking gluten-free pasta. Also, both Market Fresh and Shanghai Wholesale Market seek to buy local, so you can look for local quail eggs, unique cheeses, and Minnesota-made tofu. Open the door to food abundance. Discover Market Fresh, your local Asian food store just south of Rosedale, and Shanghai Wholesale Market, your local international food warehouse north of Menards in the St. Paul Midway area.
Hey, it's Mike McIntee in here for Matt McNeil today on the Matt McNeil Show. Matt is going to be back tomorrow, I believe. We are chatting with Mary Hartnett, who is the Executive Director of Clean Elections Minnesota. We were chatting about all the things that Donald Trump, not all the things that Donald Trump has said, but the stuff Donald Trump has said about mail-in balloting and wanting to get rid of that, wanting to get rid of voting machines. We just walked through that. Obviously, Mary, those are all bad ideas to strengthen our elections. Let's talk about what we should be doing to make sure that elections are fair and everybody believes in the result, because we've had a problem here the last several elections with people saying, oh, that's not right. That's not right. What should we be doing?
Well, I think we should be celebrating the incredibly great turnout that Minnesotans have. We have the largest voter turnout of any state in the country, and one of the largest voters. One of the largest we have the largest number of people registering to vote too.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a high degree of trust in Minnesota because the voting systems are run by 30,000 of our neighbors and our friends who are Republicans, Independents, and Democrats, and we should be putting our energy into those. My fear is that President Trump has kind of strong-armed other states into, to doing his bidding and getting legislation passed. He doesn't have the authority to oversee the voting machines. He doesn't have the authority to run mail-in, to stop mail-in voting. But he could put a push to try to make that happen on strong-arm states like he's strong-arming them with gerrymandering. So I think that we should be really, attentive and making sure that we have no legislation passed in our state that weakens and, makes it difficult for people to vote or impossible for people to vote. I think that's what we should be doing. And also the Department of Justice requested Minnesota's voter rolls along with the voter rolls of a number of states. That could lead to, information that is sharing information that is private information, could lead to more voting, purges. We've got a lot that we need to watch. And so what we should be doing is staying vigilant and really celebrating the fantastic system that we have and, continue to build trust and let people know about the checks and balances we have in the system and encourage people to vote. It's the most important, it's our voice is our vote, and none of that should be taken away. So I think protecting what we have is essential. It's absolutely essential.
Now, if I recall, I do recall correctly that Minnesota has a pretty evenly divided House and Senate. And yes. I'm trying to remember if it's just kind of customary that the governor won't sign bills that don't have bipartisan support on election changes, or if that's written into law. Do you happen to recall that? I just know it hasn't happened.
Oh no, actually, I mean it was customary, and I think that was Governor Dayton. I think that legislation has been passed in the last few years that did not have bipartisan support. So we got it was there was bipartisan support for Restore the Vote that gave people that were felons that paid their debts to society and re-entered. There was some bipartisan support for that, but there was not. There was on a party line. We got automatic voter registration, which really increases the number of people that are able to vote, increases the participation, which is and a modernization of our system that really is essential to maximizing the number of people who participate. So a lot of some of the election laws were passed on party lines.
Okay, I suspect
it's a custom. It's not written into law. It's written into law.
I suspect as long as Governor Walz is governor, you're probably not going to have him sign anything that's going to weaken voters' rights. Let's flip that just for a moment. What should other states be looking at that Minnesota does well that they should be adopting? We've got just a couple minutes here left.
Well, I think I don't want to disparage any of the other states, but I think that what we do well is we have a great Secretary of State in Steve Simon, and he and his team do a lot of voter education, are really open about and transparent about what's going on. Any question that anybody has, if there's any doubts, he answers them immediately. The 30,000 election workers that we have in the state that are our neighbors, they go through extensive training, and anybody that has any doubts about the system, they're put aside once they learn how rigorous the system is. The checks and balances that we have in place. So I'd say that, and really what we need to do is continue protecting our right to vote. Really depends on people having trust in our elections, and to just share how clean and fair our systems are. And when somebody challenges that, to respond in a way that describes the many great checks and balances that we have in place that protect our system and make sure that we have clean, fair, and accurate elections.
I will add to your list one important thing that I noticed when I was covering the Frank and Coleman recount: paper ballots. Paper ballots, because people distrust little digits, but they can see. I mean, we got to see every darn vote in that election. And I think it, even though it was close, people trusted the final result on that thing. So all good ideas.
And almost every state has a paper. Most states have paper ballots, but for sure Minnesota does.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Mary, thank you so much for chatting with us today. We have some special elections coming up, and then we got obviously the elections in 2026. So all these things very pertinent as we head towards elections here. They don't just happen every 4 years. Mary is the executive director of Clean Elections Minnesota. Mary, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me. Really appreciate it. A real privilege. Thank you so much, Mike.
All right. So I'm Mike McIntee in for Matt McNeil today. Chicago and Seattle, we're signing off there. But coming up, hour 2 is in Minneapolis, St. Paul. We've got more stuff lined up. We'll be, Tim Walz. I'm teasing something. Sorry, you're not going to hear Chicago. Tim Walz was talking down at the DNC summit today. I've got some sound from him. We want to hear from that too. We'll be back after the break.
Crooners is a classic supper club with a wide range of entertainment. Make your reservations for a parade of international, national, and local artists in the main stage showroom, the intimate Dunsmore Jazz Room, or outdoors at the seasonal Belvedere Under the Stars space. Or enjoy Maggie's Piano Lounge. Enjoy 4-star food and drinks with first-class supper club service. What are you waiting for? Go to croonersmn.com for more information and schedule. That's croonersmn.com.
This year, the magic is calling you like never before. Craft your own magic at the Wicked Wand Workshop and race for glory at the Ninja Warrior Challenge. Feast on hearty turkey legs and cheer on live combat jousts. There's something for everyone in our magical village. Bring your family, bring your friends, and create memories that will last through the ages. The Minnesota Renaissance Festival, weekends August 16th through September 28th. Don't miss the adventure. Get your tickets at renaissancefest.com.
Your Need to Know News headquarters, the Tom Hartman Program, AM 950, KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. At least 20 people, including journalists and rescuers, were killed when a pair of Israeli airstrikes hit a hospital in southern Gaza today. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office calls it a tragic mishap. Niaran Kim reports an AP journalist among the dead.
33-year-old Mariam Abu Daga regularly reported from Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis. The first strike hit the hospital's fourth floor. Minutes later, as journalists and rescuers in orange vests rushed to the scene, a second missile hit the same spot. Israel's military confirmed it had struck targets in the area of the hospital and said it will conduct an investigation. Mariam's father, Riyad, was among the relatives and journalists who gathered around her body. Born in Khan Yunis, Daga began working as a journalist in 2015. She survived by her 13-year-old son. Mariam Abu Daga was one of 5 journalists killed in today's strike, and one of 192 journalists killed during the war in Gaza. Throughout the war, she'd been displaced 7 times. I'm Niaran Kim.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia has been detained by immigration authorities in Baltimore. A blanket court order automatically pauses any effort to immediately deport him, as well as other immigrants challenging their detention. The Trump administration says it intends to send Abrego Garcia to Uganda. Attorney Simon Sandoval Moschenberg says a new lawsuit's been filed on his behalf, challenging his current confinement and
So, Ailey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, awesome! Because the last guest didn't work on. So,
no.
Just a warning. We are still live on social media, so don't say anything you don't want heard.
all right. I try not to say anything I don't want heard ever, because that always is a bad idea. So, so obviously we're going to talk about the Ask Me. It's a rally tomorrow? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So we'll want to talk about the when and where and all that kind of stuff, but I want to talk about what's behind it
For sure.
and the history. And I mean, we can talk about, inequities, costs. I will tell you that I used to go to the U way back in the late 70s and early 80s. And tuition, I think, was less than $1,000. So,
Sure.
yeah. So life has changed a lot since then. And I want to get into just where you think, I know the term bloat gets tossed around. Be ready to kind of tell me what you think that means, or where that is and what could be done, if that's
Sure.
that's in the parameters here, what we're discussing. So we'll come back here at whoops, I got the wrong sheet up. That was the last
405.
at 405. There we go. At 405, we'll take this. We'll talk for 10, 12 minutes or so, something like that. Okay.
Sure. Sounds good. My name is Allie Schmier.
Allie Schmier. Did I say
Yeah.
Allie? Allie Schmier. Allie. Schmierer or Schmier?
Schmier. Like on a bagel.
On a bagel. Okay. There's no second syllable there. Okay. Got it. Allie Schmier. Cool. And you're the technical unit chair for the AFSCME 3800 at the U of Minnesota?
Yep.
Is that usually 3800? Is that how it's referred to?
Yep.
Okay. Got it. I want to get my union names right. So cool. All right. So we are starting here in about a minute. So I'm going to shut the door and I'll be back.
Sounds good.
For groups of 8 or more are recommended, and the Park Tavern offers private and semi-private spaces for small and large groups with no room fees and no minimum spending requirements. On Louisiana Avenue, north of Highway 7 in St. Louis Park, outdoor live music is on at the Park Tavern.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Today, sunshine with a high of 70, then tonight clear with a low of 51. Zero Res's Labor Day sale is going on now. Get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at $119, plus a free hallway and $75 off an air duct cleaning. Make sure to schedule your appointment over the next week. Call 9520-RES or visit zeroresminnesota.com and ask for the AM 950 special. Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hey, Minneapolis, St. Paul, it's Mike McIntee in for Matt McNeil here today on Monday. It is move-in day at the University of Minnesota. Yes, all of those students. I hope you avoided being near any of the dorms over by Superblock because it's always such a mess. Everybody's got their cars parked everywhere and they're moving in. They're bringing in mattresses, even though they have mattresses. There's it's a ton of stuff, and it's a tradition. I remember move-in day, and it going way back. I was there in the late 70s, early 80s. And that's one of the few things that has not changed. It's always a tearful goodbye, as parents say, "Here you go, kid. Good luck." And your brother gets your room. It's that all that stuff hasn't changed. But what has changed is the finances. A lot of the finances. When I went to the University of Minnesota way back when, I paid less than $1,000 per quarter for tuition. I mean, that sounds crazy these days. It's gone up. I think I looked up the number 7,800% since then, the tuition. So that's obviously changed. What hasn't changed is the need to pay workers at the University of Minnesota. And with all that money going around, you'd think that there'd be money to pay the workers what they need over inflation. And that's one of the reasons that tomorrow, AFSCME, University of Minnesota, which represents about 2,000 clerical, technical, and healthcare workers across all 5 U of M campuses, not just at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities and their statewide extension office, is going to hold a rally, and they've got a demand. And joining me to talk to me about that is Ali Schmier, the technical unit chair for AFSCME 3800 at the University of Minnesota. Ali, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So tell me what the rally is all about.
So the rally is a demand for a fair contract for the University of Minnesota to come to the bargaining table with real raises that meet inflation and allow us to be able to live in our communities and support ourselves so that we can work at the University of Minnesota. We all work here on purpose. We love our jobs. We love the students, and we want to keep doing the things that we're really good at.
So when I kind of covered the basic categories here, clerical, technical, healthcare workers, I mean, that sounds like that encompasses a lot of the non-teaching staff at the University of Minnesota. Is that pretty much, that's a ton of people.
Absolutely. It's a ton of people. So healthcare is dental assistants, medical assistants, a lot of other people in there too. There's clerical workers who are program specialists, who are executive assistants. And then the technical unit, which I am the chair for, is even more people. So we have veterinary technicians. I'm a library worker. I work at Wilson Library as a circulation desk worker, and I supervise students. There are also laboratory assistants and people in the extension offices all across the state, like people who make the fair run as 4-H program assistants. So we have people all over the place.
So how long has the union local been talking with the University of Minnesota here to try to get, I assume this is a contract. How long has it been going, and what's brought it to this point where you got to hold a rally?
So we have been negotiating with you since April, and we have been without a contract since July 1st. So what is bringing us to this point is that the university is not meeting the moment. They are not meeting the needs of our members of our union. And we've reached a point where now we will be going into state mediation in the middle of September because the university is not taking our demands very seriously.
And let's talk about the demands. I mean, you basically said, let's be paid more than inflation. Is what kind of percentage are we talking about here? Is it all across all jobs, or is it vary?
So there are some jobs that need to have meet a market adjustment. And then in negotiations, people start at the employer starts at the bottom, we start up high, and then we will eventually meet in the middle. At the moment, we are asking for an 8% increase with an additional job codes with a little bit more because they are not meeting the market rate. We're also negotiating for lower healthcare costs because the U is suggesting bringing up healthcare costs by about 10%. We also need to cover the new family medical leave percentage increase as well that's going to be added to our paychecks. And we also have a lot of non-wages kinds of demands as well, like covering parking for people so that we don't have to pay to go to work.
So as the university, I mean, obviously the university has not said, yeah, we're all in favor of that, but are they at least moving towards talking about any of these things, or has it been stonewalling?
It's been very teeny tiny things here and there to the point where I would say it hasn't been movement at all.
In your press release, I do get press releases, and that's how we connected. Your group used the word bloat at the University of Minnesota, and I think we have all seen the eye-popping numbers that some of the administrators get paid. Yes. I would love to be paid that kind of money to do that kind of work. I'm not today. I'm definitely not being paid that. So tell me where you see that the university has money that they could pull from places to pay the workers.
For sure. So President Rebecca Cunningham currently has a salary of $975,000 per year, and that is before other benefits that she has as well, including her health care and retirement contributions. She also has a free mansion to live in as well, so doesn't have housing costs. In fact, across the university, about 500 people make over $100,000 a year. And we have just hired I think it was the 13th vice president as well, who also gets retirement contributions and makes hundreds of thousands of dollars a year as well. That's why when we say administrative bloat, it is all of these different people who are up high, making really broad decisions, and not the feet on the ground like me and my coworkers who are doing things like helping animals in the veterinary clinics and helping people in the Disability Resource Center take tests, or people like me specifically who work in the libraries and do circulation and help students find the books and use the information that they need to write their papers and educate themselves at a university.
So are you suggesting that some of these people aren't needed and that's where their money could go? Or are you just saying, well, there's obviously a lot of money floating around. Can't you send it our direction here?
I think it could be a little bit of both.
Okay. All right. I'm sure a university committee would like to dig into that a little bit. Let's talk about, you've got mediation set up. Does that preclude that there's a strike? Or, I know that's a word we should be very, very careful when we use, but is that still a possibility in this, or is it going to go to mediation? And then after mediation, a strike, there's a possibility of strike. Walk me through the timeline and how things progress.
Sure. I can't say very much about that. But a strike is the very last resort, but it is something that is in our pocket. So it is the very, very last resort. We will do a lot of things to keep from doing that. But, that is the power of labor, is the ability to withhold our labor to be able to get the types of things that we need. Once again, big tool, something that we would have as our very last resort.
Let's talk about the impact that might have. If we had 2,000 workers. And again, this is not something that's going to happen. This is something that we're just talking about what the power is here. If you had 2,000 of your fellow union members walk out at the University of Minnesota, what sort of impact would we see? What would happen?
So our union members also include security guards. It includes the veterinary technicians who wouldn't be able to help their patients at the veterinary clinic. The libraries would cease to be open. I'm pretty sure that my administrators do not know where the keys are to the building, so I don't think that my building would actually open. And I think that it would, meetings wouldn't get scheduled, classes wouldn't be held, a lot of faculty would not get the assistance that they need to be able to get their course materials. It would put a big wrench in the system, as we see with the Teamsters who are about to go, who could potentially go on strike. There's been a little bit of talk about that at the university with our Teamster siblings who are facilities workers who clean our buildings and people who do groundskeeping. All of those folks also are fighting for the same kind of contract. That's also what our rally on tomorrow, Tuesday at noon is about. We are showing up to support our union siblings with the Teamsters as well, because they potentially could be going on strike very soon.
And if something like that happens, generally other unions don't cross the picket lines.
Correct.
Is that's a scenario that we could see happen at the University of Minnesota if the Teamsters went out and you're still in doing mediation and negotiation. Your group might be honoring that strike, and everything that you just detailed would be impacted.
Oh, absolutely. I would never do my Teamster siblings' jobs for them. I would leave the trash where it is. I wouldn't clean up anything. That is their job. And that would take away the power of their strike if I did it. So I want my Teamsters to have the best. And I wouldn't take that power from them.
So if people are, this is a rally that's happening. Where's it happening at the U? Is it on Northrop Mall or where?
It is at Kaufman Union.
Kaufman Union at the other end of the mall. Okay. At noon. So if people want to come by and support labor and see what's going on, they can drop in there. That's starting at noon tomorrow.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Well, Allie Schmier, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay. Folks, we were going to take a break. It's Mike McIntee in for Matt McNeil. And when we come back, I've got some stuff that Tim Walz said today. We had to bleep a little bit, so you won't hear that part. But he was down here. DNC's holding their their summit, national summit in Minneapolis. We'll talk about it when we get back here on AM 950.
Thank you, Mike.
Your time is precious. Why are you still mowing your own lawn? I'm Alex Knorr, a young, hardworking entrepreneur serving the Southwest Metro with affordable lawn care. At Buzzcut Mowing, I offer weekly mowing, leaf cleanups, aeration, dethatching, tree trimming, and mulch installation. I work hard so you can relax and enjoy time with family and friends. Call today and I'll handle the rest. Visit buzzcutmowingmn.com. That's buzzcutmowingmn.com.
The Brave New Workshop is a Minneapolis tradition and the nation's longest running comedy theater, finding ways to make people laugh about things that should make them cry for over 65 years. And who doesn't need a good laugh right now? Seriously, who doesn't need a laugh? Come see their fall show, Hippocalypse Now, a hilarious look at a world where what people say and what people do are completely unrelated. Playing now through November 1st at the Dudley Riggs Theater in Minneapolis. Tickets available at hennepinarts.org. That's hennepinarts.org.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. We have families waiting for a car. Over 85% of unemployed are successful in finding and keeping a job if they have dependable transportation. A car plus a job equals a life changed. 612-919-5526. We have families waiting for a car. 919-5526 or autotech.org.
Greg Bakken here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
The independently owned Next Chapter Booksellers is the perfect destination for your next book. The friendly staff at Next Chapter Booksellers are great at making recommendations no matter your age or taste. Plus, they have frequent events including book readings and meet and greets with authors. And they sell more than just books. They have a wide variety of puzzles and games, too. So stop in and browse the store off Snelling and Grand in St. Paul. More at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
I'm Rachel Schroman, owner of Schroman Law, and I believe you deserve information. Our firm offers free quarterly estate planning seminars at our office in St. Paul. At these seminars, you can learn the basics of estate planning from an attorney to help you determine which estate planning documents will meet your needs and goals in an efficient and cost-effective manner. You can learn more and register at our website, schromenlaw.com/events. That's SCHROMEN law.com/events.
Hey, it's Mike McIntee in for Matt McNeil today. We're on AM 950, Progressive Voice of Minnesota. And you haven't heard my voice for a while. I haven't been here on the station very often. It's actually, I was here a couple of weeks ago. I was glad to be in to fill in for Matt, and glad to be in today. But it was the prior Trump administration, I think, was the last time I was here before that. So there are a few blips. It's still me learning how all the buttons work here. And luckily, I've got Patrick to guide me today, and we're making it work just fine. If you've been paying attention to national politics, you know that the DNC is holding its summit in Minneapolis, going on right now. And it's got a lot of Minnesota flavor to it. I was just kind of perusing the video. I saw Ken Martin, who used to be chair of the Minnesota DFL party. He's now chair of the DNC. He was using his lines like, we're no longer going to bring a pencil to a knife fight. We're bringing a bazooka, I think, something like that. Getting people riled up, to support the cause here for the coming year. I saw Amy Klobuchar speaking. I also saw Tim Walz. And the governor is good for throwing out red meat to get criticized, as well as to get the base fired up. And he had a few things to say today. I just wanted to play a few of them for you. The first one that he had to talk about was, believe it or not, Donald Trump. He had some opinions on Donald Trump. So, Patrick, let's play that first clip here.
Tell you, the privilege of my lifetime was stand beside someone we know was the most qualified and would have been a fantastic president in a President Harris. And look, we wouldn't wake up every day to a bunch of on TV and a bunch of nonsense. We would wake up to an adult with compassion and dignity and vision and leadership doing the work, not a man-child crying about whatever's wrong with him. May his fat ankles find something today. Petty as hell.
Yeah, fat ankles. Governor Walz not afraid to go with the physical, going down, just like Gavin Newsom. We've had kind of both governors here. Gavin Newsom, with the help of a wonderful, I guess you'd say wonderful, social media team, mocking Trump online, using the language he uses. By the way, I'm curious what you think about all this too. If you have an opinion, 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Gavin Newsom has, the Republicans say he's gone off the rails. And of course, the Democrats just say, you don't get it. He's just doing the same thing Trump is doing. Do you have a problem with that? But anyway, back to Walz. Walz to get into a few things worth talking about. Chicago is apparently the next city that Trump is going to be sending troops into. At least that's I believe the Washington Post is reporting this. Arrangements are being made, and Donald Trump was not hiding the fact that that's what he wanted to do. And Governor Walz had some things to say about the military takeover of cities.
But what we have to be clear about is don't take the bait. It boggles my damn mind that in the midst of a military takeover of our cities and the attempt to go into others, the flaunting of the rule of law, the cruelness and the unconstitutional nature of the way they're attacking our neighbors, that the press finds the need to talk about, oh, there's a division in the Democratic Party. There's a division in my damn house and we're still married and things are good. That's life. That's life. We are strong. We are strong because we challenge each other. We are strong because we're held accountable. We're strong because we believe that there's a place for everyone here. Think of how easy it would be to be a damn Republican. Oh, what should I wear today? This stupid freaking red hat. What should I say today? I don't know. Just make sure it's cruel. Who do we listen to? That guy. Oh, the felon in the White House? Yeah, listen to him and that will be fine.
So Walz arguing there, maybe not eloquently, that the press is being distracted by whatever Donald Trump throws out, and talking about the divide in the DFL, in the Democratic Party. And Ken Martin, who I mentioned, is the Democratic National Committee Chair, or DNC Chair. There we go. Had some things to say. He said, I think the greatest divide right now in our party, frankly, is not ideological. This is what he told the Associated Press. The greatest divide is those people who are standing up and fighting and those who are sitting on the sidelines. We are using every single lever of power we have to take the fight to Donald Trump, he said of the DNC. And I guess Tim Walz, they're trying to take the fight to Donald Trump as well. And what people are worried about is fascism. Yes, let's use the word fascism, because we've seen what's happened here the last few months, and it's been a progression of things getting worse. I mean, you have a president who has bent the norms, bent the laws, if not broken the laws on many things. There are lawsuits that are still deciding that. We'll let the courts sort that out. We hope that the courts can sort that out. But Governor Walz had something to say about fascism. Let's listen to that.
But I am willing to say each and every one of us are unified around the idea that this cruelty must end. This slow rolling attempt at undermining democracy, and I always get in trouble for it, and I'll continue to say it. I don't think we do any favors when we don't name it. These are fascist policies meant to take away our. That is what they are. So for all of you here, I welcome you to Minnesota. I'm grateful you're here. We know this is going to be, look, if democracy was easy, everyone would do it. And if democracy were easy, it would survive. But the natural order of things is to have people come along like this guy, and to have folks want to be told what to do, or to demonize someone else, or find a scapegoat. That's kind of the way the natural order is, but we've risen above that. This is not the law of the jungle. This is the law of human decency, of human rights reigning first. And I will have to tell you, I saw a statistic came out today is Minnesota ranks the highest per capita for being a safe haven for transgender individuals in Minnesota. And can I just say, we can talk about economic growth and feeding children and growing the economy and creating jobs simultaneously with talking about everybody's human rights matters, and we shouldn't be demonizing that. You can do both. You can do both.
It's Governor Tim Walz down at the Democratic National Committee meeting in Minneapolis today. You got some thoughts on what the governor had to say, what Ken Martin had to say, what Governor Newsom has had to say here? Are the Democrats taking the right tact on doing this? I'm curious. 952-946-6205. That's 952-946-6205. I tell you what, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, if people have calls, we'll take those. Otherwise, we'll be moving on to talk about some some budget cuts that the Trump administration may be making, and how that could impact your neighborhood, your friend, your family, your friends, all those kinds of things coming up here in a little while. You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Mike McIntee, in for Matt McNeil.
When was the last time you had your roof inspected for extreme weather and hail damage? This is Chad, owner of AM 950, to talk about the exterior construction company I trust, Snap Construction. If you've noticed new roofing projects in your neighborhood, your home was likely hit by hail last summer and experienced damage. Snap Construction is helping homeowners like you, and they're the roofing specialists I trust. They are the most well-reviewed contractor in the Twin Cities and have a ton of positive customer reviews from homeowners just like you. Even better, Snap Construction's installations are backed by a lifetime warranty, so you know you're dealing with a qualified roofing expert. You want to work with a company that will be here for a long time after the work is done. Snap Construction has handled thousands of claims and will help you through the process. Do yourself a favor and get a free roofing inspection so you have the facts and peace of mind you deserve. Call Snap Construction today at 612-333-SNAP. That's 612-333-SNAP, or visit snapconstruction.com.
It's no secret that medical care costs are soaring, with nursing home and skilled nursing care costs being some of the highest. You don't have to deplete your savings in order to receive long-term care. At Schroman Law, we work with families to develop and implement strategic planning for medical assistance for long-term care, for assisted living, nursing home care, or home-based care. Contact us today to schedule a free consultation at schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Rest. Did you know that August is Pet Appreciation Month? Zero Rest doesn't use harsh soaps or chemicals, so it's safe for all your furry friends. If you have a pet like I do, you know they'd like to leave little bits of themselves around the house, whether...
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you. That is the marvel of technology we got going here. So,
because I apologize, I don't have headphones, so I don't know if the audio quality, and then I don't know if there's a way for you to blur my background.
No.
Or if you think it looks okay, then I'm going with what you think. So
I see two windows, and I think you look fine. So we're
Okay.
good. There's usually not that many people watching on the stream live, at least. So.
Okay.
But good. We've got audio. We're going to jump into this. So when we come back out of the break, we're almost done. So stand by. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining in early.
In Minneapolis, exciting news. During the warmer months, we're extending our charm to the patio. Imagine savoring your favorite dishes outside, surrounded by the lively energy of South Minneapolis near 26th and Lindale. And guess what? Nightingale's patio is not just a dining space, it's also dog-friendly. Craft cocktails, curated wines, and half-price bottles of wine on Mondays are still part of the deal. Open daily, 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. with a full menu until midnight. Join us at Nightingale, where good times and great flavors come together.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Alilia. Tonight, clear with a low of 51, then Tuesday, sunshine with a high of 75.
State Fair savings are here at Chanhassen Dinner Theaters. Save $25 on tickets to select performances of Grease, White Christmas, and Guys and Dolls. Tickets and details at chanhassendt.com/fair25.
This is AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Oh, wow. Thanks for digging up the Talking Heads. One of my favorite groups. So I feel like I should be rocking and grooving to it. Hey, it's Mike McIntee here for Matt McNeil on AM 950. Here's a basic fact I think we can all agree on. People with a stable home stay healthier, find work easier, and their kids do better in school. I mean, if you got a roof over your head, if you don't have a roof over your head, I should say, everything else kind of becomes secondary. And I think you won't be surprised to hear that in his budget, President Trump is proposing a 43% cut to federal rental assistance. And joining me to talk about the potential impact to Minnesota families is Deputy Executive Director of the Minnesota Housing Partnership, Elizabeth Glidden. Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So let's unpack this. This sounds like a lot of bureaucracy and government stuff, and it doesn't, maybe it doesn't impact me. Let's first talk about it in real terms. What are these subsidies that we're talking about? What is housing or rental assistance?
Well, thanks for the question. Rental assistance is one of the most important and also one of the most substantial ways that the federal government has for decades and decades supported housing stability for millions of people throughout the United States and hundreds of thousands in the state of Minnesota. A rental assistance is essentially a way that you get some help with your rent. It is a subsidy. Some people refer to this as a partnership with the private sector because it's a way that you can utilize a rental subsidy and that helps you pay your rent at a private employer. A lot of people don't realize that when people get rental assistance, they also are contributing to their rent. So that's part of the program that when a person or a family receives rental assistance, they are also contributing at least 30% of their income to rent. So it's really kind of a partnership way that we're able to support housing stability, which benefits, again, people and families, the private sector, and communities as a whole.
Now, I was looking at a map of where all this money goes, and obviously a lot of it goes to where there's a lot of people. A lot of it goes to, Hennepin and Ramsey County and up near Duluth. But is most of this money going to urban areas, or is it? Are we also seeing a need in rural areas? Who relies on these subsidies?
I think folks would be kind of very interested to know that this funding is really needed throughout the state, and it's been utilized throughout the state in very rural communities, all the way to kind of our biggest urban areas, as you mentioned, cities of Minneapolis or city of Duluth. But people throughout the state of Minnesota are relying on rental assistance. It's utilized by people who are working. It is utilized by families with children. It's utilized by an awful lot of our seniors throughout the state of Minnesota. It's utilized by people who have disabilities. It is a way that we provide stability and ensure people can remain housed throughout the state of Minnesota.
Just for a moment here. I talked a little bit about this when we started. But if somebody is unhoused, if somebody does not have a place to, reliably call a home, how does that mess up their life?
Well, I think you kind of touched on it when you introduced the topic, but we've seen this happen. We hear it from stories, we hear it from research, kind of almost any way you can try to analyze this. It's just really common sense. If you don't have a place that is yours to call a home, it means you have trouble getting to work because you don't have a regular place. It means that you have trouble staying in school. This is one of the biggest issues that affects school performance, educational performance from K through 8 kind of on up, is whether or not you have a stable home. It affects your health. Just like every facet of your life is impacted by whether or not you have a stable place that is home.
So when we start talking about rental assistance, how much does that reduce homelessness? Assuming it does reduce homelessness, but to what degree?
It really has a tremendous effect on homelessness. Again, this is the kind of thing where there have been studies about this. Some of the studies that we have seen say it can reduce 3 out of 4 families that might have been without a home that is a positive impact to their lives. It reduces homelessness, by 4 out of 5 families, and it also reduces housing instability which is kind of where you're accruing, you're not able to make your regular rent payments. You might be going from place to place. Your housing is unstable. We also just, it's kind of a common sense thing where you are not able to pay the rent. You're not going to be able to stay in that home. And that means, again, that you are displaced, that then your family is at risk. You are at risk in so many different ways.
You also, I think, touched on this a little bit, but how does having rental assistance help people stay employed? Because we often talk about, hey, you got to pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. You got to work in this economy. This is the talking points I hear from the Republican Party. But then again, I hear them always not in favor of handing out money to do something like this, which I want to come back to. But let's talk about how this impacts having people employed.
So, I guess maybe just imagine this scenario. You are doing your best to be as productive as you can at work. You need to be there on time. You need to kind of think about how you're able to be fully present at work. And if you do not have a place to go home at night, or you're unsure where you're going to go at night, you not only have that mental stress of how am I able to provide for my family, but you're not able to focus on how am I going to get to work on time? How am I going to be my best productive self at work? People want to work. We see that, again, it's a high incidence of employment of people working who have rental assistance, and it's the rental assistance that helps them be productive in the workplace, do their part as part of their peers at work. And this is another thing where research kind of backs this up. Kind of our common sense understanding of this is that the more people have housing stability, the more productive they are at work and able to retain that work and progress in their careers.
So this money does a lot of good across the board. So now we're talking about, or at least Donald Trump is proposing in his 2026 budget that we've heard, is proposing that we cut this like 48%. What kind of impact would that have?
So we did some numbers crunching in Minnesota. And first, I guess I will just share that in Minnesota, we know that over 100,000 families or households rely on rental assistance from the federal government. And I think it's just under 180,000 individuals rely on rental assistance. And if that rental assistance was cut, and I think the president's proposal was about 43%, that would affect 40,000 families in the state of Minnesota. It could affect that many people throughout the state of Minnesota.
That's a lot of people, 43,000 people. That's if you went to a well-attended Twins game, if you imagined every person in there not having a home, that's essentially what we're talking about here then.
Yeah. And you also pointed out or asked me a question about who utilizes rental assistance. Mm-hmm. This is something when you talk about 40,000 people, 40,000 of our most vulnerable families throughout the state of Minnesota, it will affect communities, small and large, throughout our state, from rural communities where there often are very few options for housing that's affordable. And we know a lot of rural communities that we work with that are really looking for all the ways they can to create, build, and support more housing, to bigger communities, suburban communities in our bigger cities throughout Minnesota. So it just would have a tremendous impact. The other thing that we think would happen, or that we know from experience, is that when people are not stably housed, then they are using other kinds of services. They're going to the emergency room. They're utilizing emergency housing or transitional housing, all these kinds of things. And it's sort of like a cost shift, and a very expensive cost shift to local communities and to the state, when the federal government pulls out what has been, again, decades and decades of consistent support for stable communities.
Now, it's a large number. Anytime you start talking about government funding, there's a lot of zeros. It's a large number. But this particular program, how much of it, what percentage of it is the federal budget? I mean, are we talking a large portion? You know, we talk about Social Security taking up a lot, military taking a lot. If we're talking about rental assistance, how big of a thing is that in the federal budget?
Well, you know, you're right. When you talk about the federal budget, you're talking about programs that affect, you know, people across the United States. And, you know, I guess we've all been maybe learning more and more about the federal budget in recent months. What they call domestic spending is a very small portion of the budget compared with some of these other big programs or the defense budget. And housing budget is like this teeny speck, honestly, as part of the federal budget. It is a very small portion of the federal budget. So it's a lot to us as residents who are relying on housing and the way that has been supported. It would be very impactful to us. But in terms of a portion of the federal budget, it is not saving a lot to the federal budget by cutting this program.
Yeah, I noticed today. I get press releases from everybody, but I noticed I got one from Minnesota Housing that said Minnesota approves 123. Minnesota Housing, I should say, approves 123 million in rental assistance grants. This is the Minnesota Housing Board that's done that. Who is the Housing Board, and is that a drop in the bucket, or is that a big thing?
So Minnesota Housing, the state agency, they actually have a board because not all of their funding comes from state appropriations. So they kind of are a little unusual in the state government. But so that's why they enter into this. They approved this. But this is a new program to the state of Minnesota, a rental assistance program. It's paid for with a combination of sales tax, a new sales tax to the 7-county metro, and some appropriations. It is an important new program that would provide approximately 5,000 new families with rental assistance. So as you can see, it was intended to expand the number of families that weren't at risk of experiencing homelessness or housing instability. In comparison with the federal rental assistance programs, it is a very small portion. So in other words, could this replace the federal funding for rental assistance? No. In comparison, it's a relatively small program, even though it's an incredibly important, what we thought was expansion of the way we're providing support to families throughout the state of Minnesota.
Now, you and a coalition of other groups have been trying to get the word out about this. I think there were some meetings just recently held for the public. What's the feedback? Getting any feedback or reaction to the message that's going out here?
You know, so we are just trying to encourage people that sharing your story, if you have had an experience as rental assistance, is very important, or sharing your understanding of our housing need in Minnesota is very important. I just think this is a critical time for us to know final decisions have not been made by Congress. Congress needs to understand, like, not every member of Congress may fully understand how important this program is to people in Minnesota, from rural communities to urban communities and everything in between. And it's just a critical time to raise our voices, to contact members of Congress. Often what we hear from some of these offices is, I don't hear enough, or I haven't heard enough about housing. This is our chance. It is a really critical time to speak up and tell your story, and make sure our members of Congress, our Minnesota members of Congress, understand that this is something that is a constituent issue across districts. We're hearing from a lot of people that they're very afraid that they're feeling traumatized by not knowing if they will still be able to have these critical supports that help them remain in housing that is stable and safe. And so we want to make sure that's a message that's heard, and just that this is really important to the state of Minnesota.
Now, most people within the sound of my voice are probably living in a district that has a Democratic congressperson. And they're probably thinking, well, this is really just the Republicans doing this. But I'm hearing you saying that this really needs to be brought up even to the blue side of the aisle, so that they're not going to trade away something for it.
I am a big fan of making sure everyone hears the same message. I think that's just an important principle. And again, whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, they may be saying the same things that we haven't heard from folks as we're looking at what to prioritize. I haven't heard a lot about housing. I heard a lot about this other issue. We want them, whether they are Democrats or Republicans, to hear stories of how important support for homes is. And rental assistance is one of the most important programs that provides stability to hundreds of thousands of people in Minnesota.
So here's your opportunity, your call to action. I mean, obviously tell your story, but for those of us who are comfy in our homes and are concerned about this, how can we get involved? What can we do?
So we are asking people, please call your member of Congress. It doesn't need to be a complicated message. It can be one that's just as simple of saying how we really need housing in Minnesota. We need rental assistance. We need you to pay attention to this issue.
All right. We've been talking with Deputy Executive Director of Minnesota Housing Partnership, Elizabeth Glidden. Elizabeth, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was I was happy to have the conversation.
Absolutely. Folks, we're going to take a break. And when we get back, kind of a potpourri of stuff, I want to talk about crosswalks in Florida and coloring them and just how silly it's gotten. We'll be back in a few minutes. You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Mike McIntee in for Matt McNeil.
Hey, Francois, how are you enjoying the state fair?
Bien amusé.
Oh, you really do love those macaroons from Nicolette's, don't you?
Oh, ils sont merveilleux.
I've heard there's great new flavors, cotton candy, root beer float, sweet corn, and mini donut.
Très, très bon goût.
Oh, plus they have 12 other gluten-free flavors. It's so great you support a local, small, woman-owned business.
Bien sûr, avec plaisir.
Visit Nicolette's in the West End Market between Lulu's and the Blue Barn. See you at that great Minnesota get-together.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. Did you know that August is Pet Appreciation Month? Zero Res doesn't use harsh soaps or chemicals, so it's safe for all your furry friends. If you have a pet like I do, you know they'd like to leave little bits of themselves around the house, whether that's fur or dander or worse, and you need to call my cleaning heroes at Zero Res to help get your house back in shape. Carpets, tile, rugs, upholstery, hardwood, every surface in your home can be Zero Resified. So if it's been months since your last deep clean, it's time to give the pros at Zero Res a call. And if you need to freshen up your home for the fall, Zero Res is dropping a Labor Day sale just in time for the start of the school year. Get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $119, plus a free hallway and $75 off an air gut cleaning. Sale ends Labor Day. Call 952-ZERO-RES or go to ZeroResMinnesota.com and ask for the AM 950 special. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067 or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
Overwhelmed trying to make sense of Medicare? As a licensed advisor, I can help you determine your healthcare needs and evaluate your options. I'm Harvey Pearl of Pearl & Company, and I want you to have the peace of mind knowing you have the best coverage available. You deserve an advocate you can trust and coverage you can rely on. And there's no fee, ever. Annual enrollment is October 15th through December 7th. Call me now at 651-303-8889 so we can strategize together.
Hey, it's Mike McIntee in for Matt McNeil here on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Thank you so much for listening today. It's been, an experience here trying to remember how to do radio. And so far, I haven't messed up that much. I was going to say something else, but that would have got me in trouble. So there's a story I wanted to talk about, though, and it's not in Minnesota, but it caught my eye. And of course, it's from Florida. As all things weird, all things strange seem to happen in Florida. Alligator Alcatraz, the governor, a little bit, shall we say, we know he ran for president. He's very much would like to have that job again. So he continues to grab the headlines. And this time it's crosswalks. And you may have heard about this. Cities across Florida are removing painted crosswalks to comply with a state directive and a new law prohibiting roadway art, including non-political designs created by school children. Yeah, school kids. We're taking down school kids' stuff. We get more from the Public News Service, Tremel Gomez.
The Florida Department of Transportation is enforcing a law requiring the removal of artistic crosswalks to comply with federal roadway standards. This follows the overnight removal of Orlando's Rainbow Crosswalk at the Pulse nightclub, a memorial to the 2016 shooting massacre. While the state's effort initially targeted ideological imagery, it has now expanded to include community projects such as those designed by Tallahassee students. City Commissioner Jeremy Matlow says local data shows those crosswalks improve safety and community identity.
We've seen data that shows traffic actually slows down when they approach these crosswalks. It's actually been making our communities more safe. And these aren't what they call political at all. These are like artistic designs with shapes. They're designed by students. It was a great community event.
Governor Ron DeSantis signed Senate Bill 1662 in June, codifying the federal policy against non-standard road markings. In response to protests against the decision, DeSantis said, "We will not allow our state roads to be commandeered for political purposes." Local leaders argue it removes proven safety features and community art. Matlow questions the state's application of the law to non-political projects and its impact on community morale, particularly for children who designed the crosswalks.
And that is so difficult, man. I mean, it's going to break these little kids' hearts. They painted it, they helped design it. It was something of value to them. And, unfortunately, do you explain to them the nastiness of politics? Do you explain, what's kind of driving these decisions?
In Orlando, volunteers repainted the Pulse Memorial Crosswalk hours after its removal, with Florida highway troopers observing as transportation officials again removed the repainted protest markings. FDOT maintains a September 3rd deadline for compliance statewide. The directive stems from GOP leaders cracking down on what they see as woke street art initiated by the Trump administration and paved into law by Governor DeSantis. This is Tremel Gomes for Florida News Connection. Find our trust indicators at publicnewsservice.org.
Woke street art. I bet you can see that out at the crop art at the state fair. I was out there. Some of that could fall right into that. Woke street art, I think it'd make a great exhibit out at the fair, maybe in the Fine Arts Building next year. I am planning to go to the fair tonight, and I would advise anybody who loves great live rock and roll. Los Lobos is playing tonight at 8:30, and it's part of the state fair admission, so it's essentially free tonight and tomorrow night. That's my best recommendation. I'll be hiding hopefully one of the front rows to get the full blast. Matt McNeil will be back tomorrow. At least I hope so, because I'm not here. It's Mike McIntee for AM 950. Mom, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time, whenever that is.